This is the MGTOW Infinium here with an infinium in and out. This infinium in and out is entitled Forgiveness Entrapping. Now, my brothers, this is the first in a series of in and outs, and this will be in addition to my out and abouts, my free talks, my short takes, podcasts, and whatever else I come up with in terms of content, which I am providing to you, my brothers, to help us all in the process of walking along the pathway which takes us to our freedom. Now, I'm here at the Chesapeake Public Library, and this is the main branch of that library. And this is a conference room which you can reserve and do any type of thing that you need to do. So you can do business here, you can study, meditate, do whatever you need to do. And so again, this is a proof of concept for this. And as I tweak it and work on it, I will find other locations where I can do in and outs and do them in such a way that, again, it provides interesting ideas as well as helpful content to, again, help us along the MGTOW road. Now, my brothers, I want to talk to you about forgiveness entrapping. And specifically, we men who are free and who are pointed towards freedom along the MGTOW road, we see the types of things that are going on within the feminist plantation state, the types of pressure cooker situations that are happening, the types of great failures that are happening with women, both corporately, collectively, and individually. My brothers, just for an example, right before I came to this location, I found that the Secret Service director by the name of Cheetle, she had to resign because of her incompetence. And so if you're aware, last week, former President Trump was nearly assassinated. And it was all the result of this Secret Service director's incompetence and how she handled the security that he needed for what he was doing, and how she allowed a condition and how her agents allowed a condition where, again, former President Trump was nearly assassinated. And so from every level where concerns females with the Secret Service agency, there was total failure. We saw it at the top level with the Secret Service leader, Cheetle, and we saw it with the women that were Secret Service agents who were running around like chickens with their heads cut off when the attempt was made on former President Trump's life. It was the men who reacted and reacted properly, but it was the women, top to bottom, who did not react and who showed sheer incompetence in terms of their reactions. So we see these things happening. We see the things with President Biden. President Biden is now out of the race. We see now his vice president, Kamala Harris, who is, in my opinion, incompetent. She is the designate for the presidency on the Democratic side. We see these things. We see the great failures that are happening. We see them happening in our families with the women in our families who have assumed the stance that the future is feminism, the future is female, that women can do all things and that they do not need men. We see these things in our family. We see the failures that are occurring in our families, and we see the failures that are occurring with women we don't know. We see the homelessness. We see the job loss. We see the women getting on TikTok, YouTube, crying about how they now need men and how they want men to come back and that they want men to resume the roles that they once did, that they can no longer handle it. And so with these things happening, my brothers, the women who are doing these things, the women who have once said that they did not want us or need us as men, and that we men, in certain cases, need to die, we need to go away, we need to go into non-existence. These women are now saying that we men, who they kicked to the curb, who they did all these things to us, tried to exclude us out of society, these women are now saying that we men need to forgive them. And my brothers, I want to talk to you about the forgiveness entrapment that women are now doing, because the forgiveness that they're expecting is not the type of forgiveness that should be. It is the type of forgiveness that will cause you essentially to be entrapped into their BS, entrapped into falling on your sword, being made to be held accountable for their actions, entrapped into simping, all types of things. That is the type of forgiveness that these women want. True forgiveness, my brothers, which allows someone to be trusted again, means repenting and then taking accountability for your actions. That is something antecedent to what women now want. They want you to forgive them, but they do not want to be repentant for their actions, nor do they want to be accountable for their actions. And so therefore, my brothers, they have stripped away any type of semblance or capability of being trusted again. Now, let's talk about forgiveness. Yes, as a rule, we should forgive. But my brothers, it cannot be in the manner that these women want it to be. Because again, the type of forgiveness that they want is destructive to your freedom in every possible way. Now, one of the things you will see, particularly with women who are now claiming to be Christian, for instance, I saw on Brother J.D. Miles' channel a woman who stated that she had HIV and that God gave her HIV. I saw on another channel where a woman has herpes, and it was the same deal, that God gave her herpes and now she's being responsible, blah, blah, blah. My brothers, again, what these women are doing is what I have discussed before. They are repackaging themselves. They are hiding under a veil of Christianity and hiding under a veil that God approves their actions and that they are to be forgiven, but they can go on and do what they want to do and go on about their business while you again get thrown under the bus. My brothers, one of the things that these women will do is take the protocol of forgiveness out of context to what the Bible says. And yes, again, it states clearly that we must forgive, but it also states that you have to take accountability for your actions. You cannot do the things that women are doing. You cannot hide behind a veil of Christianity and expect life to go on, expect men to submit themselves to the things that they are doing while they are hiding behind a veil of Christianity. You cannot do these things. My brothers, some of the other things that will happen to you when a woman who is hiding behind a veil of Christianity and who is telling you that you have to forgive, you have to do it right now, you have to do these things, is that again, they will use scriptures out of context to whip you and to shame you into doing that. And my brothers, what I am talking about today is to be wise about what they are doing to you. Be wise about how they are doing these things to you. Because again, we must realize that women, because of the pressures, because of things like homelessness, being evicted, having no food to eat, job loss, and it is not just your average, ordinary woman. It is women in high places who are getting kicked out of their jobs. It is every level of the feminist plantation state. There is the crumbling. There is the pressuring. And so because of that, my brothers, they will use any and every means upon you to pull you off of the pathway to freedom. And one of the ways is through shaming you, using scripture, using a quote-unquote God says this, using pressure tactics like God says to forgive right now, all those types of things. But my brothers, again, use wisdom. Yes, you have to forgive. But consider, my brothers, the damage that a woman has done to you can be in such a state where it is not humanly possible to forgive her. So therefore, it would take, again, seeking God, seeking counsel, and seeking help, which sometimes that can take years. And so in that manner, if you have been damaged to such a degree that you are numb, that you walk around in a zombie-like state, and a woman who has damaged you in such a way that that state has occurred, that state can take sometimes years to correct. And yes, it starts with your willingness to forgive her, but it cannot be done in the manner that she wants, which is selfish, which is despicable, because again, she wants you to stay in that numb state where you do not feel, where you cannot trust, where you feel that you are isolated, that you deserve what you got. That's what she wants. And that is not what forgiveness is about. Forgiveness is about basically moving on with your life. And that is what these women do not want you to do. They don't want you to move on with your life. They want you to stay entrapped in their BS. They want you to fall on your sword again, to take accountability for their actions, all types of things. Now, my brothers, getting specifically into scriptures that these women use upon you to do these things, to flog you into false forgiveness or forgiveness entrapping. One of the things that they will do is use something like the account of Joseph in the Bible. And if you read the account of Joseph, which starts at about Genesis 38 or so, you will find that Joseph, who was Jacob's youngest son, was hated by his brothers, his older brothers. And he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery by his brothers. He winds up in Egypt under the dominion of Potiphar. He begins to work in Potiphar's house as a trusted servant. He becomes falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, winds up in prison because of that. But yet he is in a situation where he one day interprets the dreams of a cupbearer and a baker. And because of that, it leads to him interpreting the dreams of Pharaoh, and it leads to him becoming second only to Pharaoh in terms of what had happened to him. But my brothers, one of the things that is overlooked when this account is taught in churches, because there is an aspect of what happened to Joseph and what happened to Joseph when he encountered his brothers again in Egypt that is often not taught. And I really have not seen this taught by any pastor or anybody that you see on TV. It is always Joseph going from the prison and then becoming second only to Pharaoh, encountering his brothers, and he forgives his brothers again. But what is not taught is this, my brothers. There is a glossing over of how Joseph forgave his brothers. And it is basically this. What happens, what is recorded in the Bible, that Joseph tells his brothers who betrayed him, who did all the things that they did to him, that what you meant for evil, God used it for good. And so what happened was Egypt was saved by what Joseph did. Israel was saved. Joseph's family was saved. All those types of things. But what is not taught, what is not talked about, and what women will use is this glossing over. And what is glossed over is that Joseph forced his brothers to take accountability for their actions. He had to test them to ensure that they were capable of being forgiven by him. And how he did this, when he encountered his brothers did not recognize him, but Joseph immediately recognized them. He falsely accused them of being spies, had them imprisoned. And then when he sent them back to his father, Jacob, he held one of them in prison. It was Simeon. He bound Simeon before them and told them to go back and get their younger brother, Benjamin, because he would not release Simeon until this was done. So the brothers had to go back to their father and get their younger brother and bring him back to Joseph. When the younger brother was there, Joseph secretly had his cup put into his sack of grain, and he sent all the brothers back to their father. But on the way, he sent his troops after them. They caught up to the brothers, and they unwrapped the sack with the grain in it and the cup in it, which was Benjamin's, and they found that the cup was there in Benjamin's sack. And they had to go back to Joseph, and they had to deal with what had happened. So again, he tested them on every point that what had happened to him, being falsely imprisoned, being falsely accused of stealing. Everything that was done to him was done to his brothers by Joseph before he could forgive them. This is not normally taught by most Bible scholars. I have not seen this taught. And if it has been, I stand corrected. But this has never been taught to my knowledge. It is always a skipping over of what Joseph did. Because, my brothers, at the point where Joseph encountered his brothers initially, had they not admitted to what they did, because he was there listening to them, had they not admitted and took accountability for their actions, he could have done anything to them. He could have sent them on their way. He had the power at that point to do anything and everything to them. He had the power of Egypt behind him. He was second only to Pharaoh. He had that type of power. And he had to know in his mind that they were truly repentant for what they did, and they were accountable for what they did. That is important, my brothers, because again, this is what's happening. These women are not taking that type of accountability. They are not doing that, my brothers, but rather, again, they are expecting you to forgive them and expecting you to resume the role of being a simp, of falling on your sword, of being thrown under the bus while they go on and live their lives. That is not right, my brothers, and it is abusive. It is abuse of the scriptures when they use it in the context of being a Christian, and you have to forgive me because of this, and I can't turn myself around. You have to accept me as I am. No, my brothers, no. This is what is recorded in the Bible, and this is what women will not talk about. Being held accountable and not doing the things that they're doing anymore. That's what's going on, my brothers. That's what's happening. They are not being held accountable for their actions, and they will not allow us. When we say you must be accountable for your actions, they will not allow it. But they expect you to forgive them. They expect you to forgive them and forget what they have done to you. That is not right, my brothers. And I would say that it is abuse of not only the scriptures, but it is also abuse of you as a man. You do not deserve the types of things that are being done to you, no matter what. We're in a state where, again, a woman expects you as a man to take it for her, to take the hit, to go under the bus, to fall on your sword. That is not what you're about, my brothers. Again, you must deal wisely in the area of even forgiveness. Yes, you have to forgive, but my brothers, consider that that process of forgiveness may take years. It may take upwards to a decade. My brothers, consider that it is not in the manner that they want it to be. For you to resume your role as a scapegoat, a black sheep, a target on your back, someone who can be taken into court and divorce rate repeatedly, that's what they're asking for, my brothers. That is not taking accountability for your actions. Taking accountability for your actions means changing your ways. It means not doing the things anymore. It means true repentance. Again, Joseph's brothers were truly repentant for what they did. They were forced into accountability because Joseph tested them and tried them. And you have to understand that God allowed him to do this. It was no jumping between, oh, you're back in Egypt, here I am, we forgive each other, let's go on. There was a process of testing, and it was traumatic to them, just as traumatic as what they did to Joseph. Again, Joseph was thrown into a pit. He was sold into slavery. He was falsely accused in prison because of the false accusation. All of those things happened to him. And those are the same things that Joseph used upon his brothers to force them to take accountability for their actions. That's what you have to understand, my brothers. And that's what you have to see what women are doing when they're hiding behind a veil of Christianity and saying that they have changed when in fact they have not changed and they've gotten worse. Again, you have women running around with STDs and saying God has cleaned them up, has reconstituted me, I'm now a virgin. You have women running around doing these things. And my brothers, you have to understand that when it comes to the process of forgiveness. Put it this way, my brothers. Should you simp and forgive a woman who is hiding behind a veil of Christianity and also hiding the fact that she has an STD, which is incurable and which ends up ending your life? My brothers, I will put the question to you. Is that worth being forgiveness entrapped? Is it worth it, my brothers? I would say for myself it is not worth it. And I would say for myself that when someone comes to me and asks for my forgiveness for something that's heinously done to me, I have to forgive them, but I am not going to forgive them in a manner which allows them to continue to wreck my life. That's what you have to understand. Yes, you have to forgive them, but don't forgive them in a manner that allows them to wreck your life, that allows them to pull you off of the pathway to freedom. Don't do that, my brothers, because they are not worth it. My brothers also, they expect you to forgive them on the spot and not walk away. And my brothers, you can forgive, but you can also walk away. There was a lot said that forgiveness is more for the person that has been hurt. I say yes and no. I'm still working that out in my life, my personal life. But I do know, my brothers, again, I can forgive to the degree that it allows me to not let that person, not let that woman live in my mind. And I can go on and walk along the pathway to freedom. But I can also walk away and tell that woman, no, I will have nothing to do with you if she calls me up, or block her text messages that come in the middle of the night. I will also do things like don't answer the door, but call the enforcers of the feminist plantation state to haul her away if she's banging on my door, pleading with me to let her back into my life. I will do those things, my brothers. Yes, I will forgive, but I will protect myself. I will protect who I am as a free man by not allowing someone who is hiding behind a veil of Christianity, who is saying that she is now clean, that she can be trusted, when I know in my mind she will never take accountability for her actions, and it is not worth my time to deal with her anymore. Forgiveness does not negate walking away, my brothers. And that's what these women want you to do. They want you to forgive and to get back into the picture. But I will restate what I said. Forgiveness does not negate walking away and keeping that woman out of the picture for the rest of your life while you seek your freedom, while you walk along the pathway to freedom as a free man. This is the MGTOW Infinium, and this has been an Infinium in and out. My MGTOW brothers, as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay on the MGTOW path, and remember, MGTOW is the liberation of men's minds. MGTOW cannot and will not be stopped.